Hi, everybody. John Faring here, along with my buddy Smasher, Kris Kaltenbacher. How's it going, Kris?
Good. Good.
Good,
Happy to be
good,
here.
good. So, Kris, we're mixing things up a little bit tonight, and we're letting some folks roll in to watch the show here live. And as we do that, we're gonna have a little fun. And so, let's see who's coming in. We've got some people watching now. They're starting to roll in, and as they do, I would ask that they jump in here and let us know where they're watching from. So in the comments, I want to see who's watching. As soon as you make a comment, I'm going to see your name. So let me know who's watching and where you're from, especially if you're coming in from Dillingham, Alaska. Anybody who's watching from Alaska, we want to know for sure that you're watching. So drop it in the comments and let us know. So, Kris, I just got to call this out because this shows it's just a little awkward right off the bat. I'm just noticing on my sponsor row down here, Marlon is one of my sponsors, and I've got my Marlon hat here. And man, you're wearing a Truck Boss hat. Tell me about Truck Boss. Tell me a little bit about Truck Boss. What's going on there?
Well, as you know, and as everybody else knows, that Truck Boss is probably the best deck in the industry. And, it covered a fully covered deck,
Yeah.
completely covers you underneath. It keeps you dry. The
Yep.
owner's a good guy. I mean, it
That
could go
Robin,
on for
that Robin Cook guy and that Jonathan guy. I mean, they're pretty good guys. I'll give you that, right? And I've known them for quite a few years, and they keep asking me like, John, when are you going to start coming over and running our Truck Boss deck? And there's this one time they actually gave me this a gift, and I've really struggled to like wear it because I'm sponsored by Marlon, but sometimes I wear like a climb jersey under my fly gear, like, and it's kind of a secret thing. I don't tell anybody. This is going to be our secret, Kris. Nobody's going to know this, right? Are you ready? Okay.
yeah.
So
What do you got?
you guys don't tell anybody. Like sometimes I wear my Truck Boss hat underneath my Marlon hat.
You can't
But
even tell. You
no,
can't even
it's
tell.
yeah, no, it's I'm a closet Truck Boss fan, but don't tell anybody. So Robin, Jonathan, if you guys are watching, we love you. We love Truck Boss, but I also love Marlon. I can't help it. They've been awesome to me too. So two great products out there in the industry, and there's so many great people lucky enough to own both. So, whew, Truck Boss,
You
Marlon.
got that out there.
Dude, that was awesome. That was fun. Now I saw Kris wearing that hat earlier, and I says like, "Hey, I got something fun we need to do with this. So let's have a good time." So cool. So hey guys, watching in the comments here, we've got Mark Connors here from Oregon. So Smasher is my hero. Now that's a way to kick off the show with the first comments, right?
Good old Mark,
In
boy.
in our in
Never
our
fails me.
in our mutual buddy, I'm sure for you too, as well as mine, David Drew. He says, "Hey Smasher, how's it going, buddy?" We got Ian McNichol from up in Canada. He's saying, "Hey John." We got Levi Varner on. We got Tim Shelton on. We've got some other folks coming in too. So guys, help us out here and share the show out. And when you do share the show out, Kris, I'm going to cover you up for just a second because I got to show off some sweet, sweet goggles. Guys, for watching the show tonight, sharing the show tonight, just getting in the comments. Every comment is an entry to win. Let us know you're here and engage with us. We got Rich Barnett is here also now from Washington. But Fly Racing is the show sponsor, and we're going to be giving away a pair of goggles for anybody who shares the show, gets in the comments. You're entered in to win a pair of Fly Racing goggles. So amazing goggles. They worked awesome. So Kris, I know you've been a busy guy, but did you happen to see the post that I put out yesterday afternoon of my ride yesterday? I was wearing those exact goggles, those ones there, and they were like all over my face and like just snow shots everywhere. We were in some epic POW here we had in Washington. Just got hammered with a storm. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did. I tried to ignore you though because this really kind of ticked me off. I didn't even get an invite.
You're always invited, buddy. It's a standing invite. It's a standing
Okay,
invite.
okay, I
Awesome.
didn't know.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we got more people dropping in. We got Todd Swing in here from Plymouth, Minnesota. We got Eric Nelson here from Washington, and more people are floating in. So thank you guys for sharing this out, for dropping in the comments, and sharing some love with our buddy Smasher here. So, guys, this episode for me personally is very, very near and dear to my heart. I really pray that you guys take the time to listen to this, to watch this, because Smasher has had an amazing opportunity to go up to his hometown of Dillingham, Alaska, and speak to the students there, help provide some inspirational words and some guidance to that community. Guys, this is really tied into my personal kind of values around Live Large. And guys, I wore the shirt especially for you guys today on the show. If you look in the lines of the flag, it legit says, "Live life to the fullest, make the most of every day, make a difference to others," right? And Smasher, when I think about this story we're about to tell, like that literally checks all the boxes. Man, you're living your best life. You're making the most of every day, and you're making a difference to other people, right? And so we're going to get into this tonight, and I'm going to try to get through this whole story without shedding a tear because this stuff touches my heart, buddy. Like this is amazing. So, all right. So, Kris, talk to us a little bit about this trip to, Dillingham. If I misstate Dillingham, I hope I don't. I keep wanting to say
No, you're
Dillington
good.
or something like that, but Dillingham,
You're good.
Alaska. Tell us about growing up there. Like this is kind of a very big chunk of your childhood in growing up there. So, just tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in Dillingham, Alaska.
So yeah, I moved to Dillingham when I was in sixth grade and graduated obviously at 12th grade, and then I continued to stay there through 1998. I think was my last year there. I'd go back and work summers and Christmases for the fuel company there. But growing up there, when I was a kid, I didn't understand the magnitude or the beauty of living in such a beautiful place. There was no McDonald's, there's no fast foods, there's no Subways, Porta Sub, new Jimmy John's, no movie theater, no bowling alley. So to me, I thought I was missing out on things in life. Whereas, everything was snowmobiling and
Yeah,
quads and fishing and hunting and, the limitless of anywhere you want to go. I mean, you could do anything you want, go anywhere you wanted. So, I always thought as a kid that I was missing out on life, but now moving forward to where I'm at now and going back,
yeah.
I couldn't have asked for a better life. Like it just growing up there, it was like I said, everything was snowmobiles. It was balls to the wall and sports and family.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, growing up in Alaska and especially Dillingham, is a very, very remote community. Like, how big of a community are we talking here? Like, what's the population of the town there, that community?
It's about 25 to 2,800. And then in the summer, I want to say it escalates to I don't know 5,000 or something
Yeah.
because everybody comes in because it's a big fishing community. It's out in the middle of nowhere. The only way you can
Yep.
get there is basically by plane. You can't drive there. There's no highways. There's no roads. I
Oh,
mean,
seriously.
yeah,
Because I was
once you're there, you're there.
my next question was going to be like, what's the closest major city like via
Anchorage.
car? And like, if you can't even go there by car, it sounds like you have to fly in.
Yeah, so you got if you go past the Panhandle, you got King Salmon, then Dillingham, and then
Okay.
Bethel. But those are all the biggest hubs in the area. But Anchorage is your biggest city with
Yeah.
it's what 350, 400 miles
Yeah.
by the crow flies.
Yeah, so super remote part of the world, period, regardless of United States or otherwise. And that kind of living and that lifestyle for you growing up, but I also want you to take that like to the next level and think about the people, not only who kind of were there like you and maybe have moved out and moved on, but the people who have spent almost, if not their entire lives in Dillingham, Alaska. What are the inherent challenges and things that the folks there are working through, dealing with on a regular basis? Things that come to my mind are people forget about this, but Alaska, because it's so far north, tell us about like summer, winter, what that means for the amount of sunlight, daylight, and the weather, and what all that means. Just let's start there and then expand from there.
So wintertime, like in the early parts of my year, I remember going to school, and I want to say, you'd go to school at dark. So it was 8:10 or 8:20, I think is when school started, and it wouldn't get light till about 10:30 ish, and then 3:30, 4 o'clock, I want to say it was dark. So I'd go to basketball practice, get out of basketball, and it was dark. So
Yeah,
the winter months were really dark. Obviously, it was so it was challenging, but as long as you kept yourself busy with sports or snowmobiling, it was fine. It was just kind of the norm. For summertime was incredible. I remember being up at the Licknagik, which is the closest lake up there, and up there fishing, and you'd be out there fishing until 1 o'clock in the morning. You'd have your
wow,
sunglasses. So,
that's
but you
crazy.
do have to, you do have to have something that consumes your time and find other ways because it does get dark and lonely, and even with a small town, there's not much to do. I mean, there's a couple of bars. There used to be some restaurants. Even now, there's not a whole lot of restaurants. I think
Yeah,
there's like one restaurant that opens up once in a while, I guess, and there's another one, a cafe that's open up once in a while. So
yeah,
it is challenging and it does get morbid after a while. So you
yeah.
really gotta have something to fulfill your time.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So thanks for sharing. Um, the next thing I want to kind of dive into, Kris, is the idea of like somebody came a knocking on your door about coming back to Dillingham to speak to the students there. So tell us a little bit about how this opportunity came to be. I think I've overheard a conversation saying a couple of people were talking about you behind your back in a positive way, and ended up reaching out to you. But like, let's talk a little bit about how this opportunity presented itself.
So I had an old high school buddy that was a year behind me, and he works in the school system, and he had contacted me a couple of years ago about the Bristol Bay Natives Association and the corporation up there wanted to bring me back, and had presented the idea to him about having me come up, that I was in the film industry and the snowmobile industry, and with that being such a big part of Alaska, he thought it would be cool. And then another guy that is much younger than me, his name is Burt Luckers, which this guy just had an idea and a dream, and he's really the one that we should thank for all this happening, because without him, I mean, it was just an idea. So his wife I knew from high school because I worked with her dad. Well, he knew that she knew me, and he just said, "Hey, do you think if I contacted Kris, if he'd come up and speak to the students, and kind of talk about, his sledding career and how he got out of Dillingham and, where it took him?" And so I was actually driving back from Stanley, Idaho, when I got a Facebook message, and, he presented it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm all in." But, I thought, of course, it was just going to kind of die off, like it was a pipe dream and blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah,
man, that guy meant, when that man set his mind to it, it was like, it was moving quicker than I was ready.
yeah,
And then, he got his name is Ian, and I forget his wife, Shannon or Chantel. They own a coffee shop there in Dillingham, and they put in, and then you had Ace Hardware, which is it's the third oldest Polaris shop in the United States, owned
nice.
by the Palin family.
Oh wow,
And so they donated air miles, along with other people donated air miles to bring myself up. And then, I was trying to get someone to film it and do that. And they, ended up being Ben Burke, and then the Bristol Inn, which is the hotel there. And Gene Barrett works for, the town of Dillingham. And so he helped out. And, so they just made this thing. And the next thing I know, Burt Luckers was like, "Hey, your plane tickets are booked. You're coming up. Let's go." And he had it all squared away. I mean, everything was in perfect order.
that's
So,
amazing.
and that's how it was just an idea, and he ran with it, and I was all for it, to go back and
Yeah.
speak to the high school and talk to the kids.
Well, what an honor that is, right? I think, I think about like, okay, when we were in high school or college or whatever it is, and somebody came and spoke to the class, like I think in that moment you don't really think all that much about it, and in your mind, like it's one of those things that, speaking for myself, like I've never even considered the fact that someone could or would call me to like come back and speak to a class. And so that moment that you get that call, like, man, that had to just
Flattering.
flattering, right? It just had to make your heart sing and just think like, oh my goodness, why me, right? And when you think about it and reflect on that now, it's like, why were you so excited to do it, right? Other than just the obvious of like, wow, this is very flattering. But what do you think inspired you to really? Because it's a big deal. Like, I'll be honest with you, one of humanity's biggest fears is public speaking, right? And here you're going to
Oh
be
yeah.
sitting in front of like dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of students, and to public speak and to want to do that, like what was the thing that motivated you internally?
Losing my mom, just knowing some of the trials and tribulations
Yeah,
that kids go through there, and being a kid there, and seeing friends that have passed away, or friends that have had issues in their lives, and just Alaska is just a tough place. I mean, it really is a tough place, and there's a lot to deal with. So for me to go back and show kids, or show anybody that that you can do whatever you want, you can do anything you want,
yeah,
but no one's going to wait for you. Life isn't going to help you. We all know that life is mean and cruel and hard. And to move out, and do it yourself, and figure out, who you are, and let life beat you down, and stand back up to show the kids, hey, Dillingham, I mean, there's nothing wrong with staying home. Like, I miss it now that the friends are blowing me up. And I mean, I miss the heck out of it. I cannot wait to go back. I really do.
that's awesome.
For me personally, I couldn't live there again, because like my dad says, I become too urbanized. I like my certain things, but to go back, and to give back to a town that kind of helped me grow into who I was, and my dad's friends. And now my dad's friends, I'm coming up, and they're calling me a brother, and we love you, and thank you for
That's
coming
awesome.
home. And, I do respect the native population, or the native culture, so much, and everything they've taught me, to love the land, give
Yeah,
back to the land. Um, just hanging out with them and how tough they really are when it comes to cold and hunting, and
Yeah.
their lifestyle is so cool to me. So to give back to them and go
Yeah.
up and speak to kids that the kids there are high school classmates of mine,
Yeah.
or uncles or aunts or sisters or
Yeah.
grandmothers, so it's cool to give back and see that these kids really truly did love me and like, appreciated me being there.
Yeah, no, that's amazing too, and that's something that wasn't obvious to me when we first started talking about this. That that area is a very rural area, and so then the local community is mostly the native indigenous people of that area, right? Is what most of the community is made up of as far as the population.
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, it's a native culture for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
there's not.
that's awesome. And so, you're talking about the idea of giving back to the land and, all those things too, like that. It kind of, it hits me a little different when I think about it that way too, because, to some degree, probably you being there, not, I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't assume, but you're not of original native descent, are you, or culture? No. And
No,
so you were
um,
probably an implant in their community. Did you ever struggle through your childhood to feel like you were fitting in, or did you just,
oh,
everybody was your buddies and everything was cool? So,
no, so I actually moved to my parents moved me to Bethel.
yeah,
My dad, my stepmom moved me to Bethel in '81. Then I was there for 3 years and then moved to Dillingham. Well, Dillingham I think is a smaller community than Bethel, but it's really tight knit. I mean, it's a really
yeah.
everybody's related in some way, some way. So to come in as a white man and be there, my first few days there, boy, I remember getting picked on and harassed. And one of the guys I got to see, he was one of them that would just after me all the time, my buddy Teddy. And but as time grows on, everything gets better. But I can
Yeah,
remember going home and telling my dad, hey, I want to move, I want to go back to Bethel
yeah,
after being there. And then you kind of get absorbed in, if
yeah.
you become open-minded and part of the community, you start to get accepted, just like with anything in
Oh,
life.
of
I
course.
mean, when you first start something, it's miserable, everything is
Yeah,
new. But if you open up your mind and really like try and draw it in and say,
yeah,
okay, I'm in their world, or this is the new world, and you kind of take it all in, man,
yeah.
it just, what a great feeling. So now to be accepted and asked to come back was even more of an honor.
Yep, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, Kris, I'm going to ask you the next question, and before you start into answering it, I'm going to remind the audience of something quick again. But the next question for you is going to be, or the next thing I want you to kind of cover for us is talk about the actual quote unquote speech or talk that you gave to the students and kind of just walk us through the message you were trying to give them and what ultimately you were trying to walk the students through to either inspire or educate or both, those kind of things. And so before you jump into that though, I just want to remind the audience that hey, we're 17 minutes into this and we've got a great audience going already. Appreciate you guys in the comments. If you're watching and you haven't yet, drop in the comments, let us know where you're watching from. We really want to see where everybody's from and what's going on, and let's share this out because this story is a for me personally, this is a story is a very big deal, and I hope it is to all of you guys as well. And Smasher, I know, is super excited to be able to share this, his story as well as the information about his community that he grew up in. And so share this out. Of course, we'd love to have you do that. And Smasher, let's go into it. Tell us about that talk that you gave up in Alaska. And this was what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago now? What is it, give or take?
3 weeks ago,
Okay, so this is
weeks ago.
very very fresh, and so like tell us like, a little bit about like how did you even think about what you wanted to talk about, and then ultimately let's talk about what you did talk about.
So I knew I was going up to speak, and I don't really like to give speeches like on a piece of paper because I
Yeah.
don't feel like it's true and heartfelt. It's just kind of something you wrote down, and so I kind of just went off the cuff, and just this is what I was going to do. So I talked a little bit about growing up there and things, how I stayed out of trouble and what I did. I mean, I wasn't the perfect kid, I
Hmm.
got in trouble with teachers and my parents and blah blah blah, and then I went on to respecting others and not judging others, because I think is a world, we judge everybody a
Hmm.
lot, and and rather than just be happy for someone, even if for John, maybe I don't like your hat, but why do I have to judge you and think,
Yeah.
oh well, he's wearing a Marlin hat, he's a toolbox, or
I
whatever, like why
I
can't I
like
be
my
happy?
hat.
Yeah, John is sponsored by Marlon, congratulations, cool for you, but most people aren't like that, they have to
Yeah.
take their digs, and I've done it. I've done it plenty of times.
Yeah.
And then anyway, so then I went on to talk about what happened to my mother. My goal is just that I wanted the kids to open their eyes and know that there's a whole world out there. There's a whole world. You can go back to Dillingham, but get out of Dillingham. Get out of the bush community. Go out there and experience it. Because in the town of Dillingham, no one's going to really let you fall. I mean, you'll always be, you know, there's always family and someone kind of hold you up and push you back, and kind of guide you for the most part. There are cases where it's just a lost cause and, they've gone down this path. But, get out of Dillingham and go and try it. Try the lower 48s, because being there, to leave Dillingham, to move to Anchorage, to move out of Anchorage, to go to the lower 48, it really is. I mean, it was trying for me. I remember my first few weeks of down and going to college, I was scared, and, I was with my best friend, but I wanted to come home. I was like telling my dad, and he's like, no, you're good. Stay there. You're fine. And I made it, you figure it out. So that was my goal, is that I wanted kids to understand that, you respect others, respect yourself, have faith in yourself, believe in yourself. And it's okay to get knocked down in life. It's all right, man. Get knocked down, get beat, because we know life is going to throw you down, but no one is going to pick you up other than yourself. As long as you stand up, you get fired from a job, you go to your next job and you prove harder. You never, I told this kid, the kids, this story, that I was in my English or my history class, and I won't mention the guy's name, the teacher, but I had fallen asleep in the class, and my girlfriend was sitting next to me, I believe. And I remember he waking me up and saying, you won't make it through college ever. This is why. And I don't get embarrassed, because I could care less what people kind of think. And so I remember thinking that for the rest of my life, I was like, I'm going to college. I'll prove him wrong.
Yeah.
And I did it. But you have to have that mentality, I think, in life, that, life is going to knock you down. People are mean, but if you want something bad enough, it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy. Nothing's easy. And then, talking about my mother being killed by a drunk driver, I was kind of hoping that, I think, not to be rude or inconsiderate, but that's kind of been beaten to a dead horse, beaten down pretty good. I mean, I've obviously talked about it a lot of Facebook, and that's what my speech has been about. But, I don't ever want anyone to go through the pain I've had to go through. My wife, for my family, for my brother, my sister-in-law, or my aunt, everybody's just been a domino effect. And so if like I told the kids, if there's 1, 2, 3 kids that can remember anything from me, if it's my face, and they're out and they're drinking that they don't drive, or they stop someone else from driving, and maybe they save, my son's life or someone else's life, someone that's important, that's what I hope. I mean, it's not a perfect world and it's going to happen, but maybe, I saved somebody's loved one. That's all I can hope. That was my whole point and everything. It was kind of fun to talk about it, and then just to lead into losing my mother. That was what I wanted the kids to leave with,
Yeah.
and, I felt like when I was given my speech, I only had a couple of kids, like 2 kids, I think, that really, they were goofing around. They were not paying attention, but they were goofing around. They're kids. But everybody else, as I was looking, man, everybody seemed to be very in tune. There was a group of like the AK Bush boys. I called them that, the AK Bush boys, but they're like kind of the Snowmobile group. I know that there's a lot of kids, not to single them out, but they were watching, and boy, they were really in tune, and I appreciated that a lot. Like that warmed my heart to see doing that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, it's such a cool experience to be able to go through that and to share those inspirational words, and, to some degree. And I know it's something that you've shared with me personally, and I'll throw it out there. And if you want to dive into it a little bit deeper, is this idea of, what has happened with your mother and how you've been kind of guided to be able to, go in and be inspired to speak to these students and stuff too. And, you just shared with me a little bit about, like, I'll use my words as, like, maybe a little divine intervention where, holy smokes, what a horrible experience you had in your own life, but how have you been able to turn that around and turn it into a positive message to try to inspire others? And, and again, in personal conversation, I know you've shared with me how much that's touched you personally. And, if you'd like to elaborate on that, that'd be wonderful. If not, we can move on to the next part of the conversation. So.
Yeah, like I told you, I'm not holier than thou, and I don't believe, that like I said, my brother and my aunt were very religious.
Yeah.
And obviously, when the man had killed my mother, I wanted bad things for him. And as I talked to my brother, and he looked on the positive side. At least you got your mom. At least we got our mom. This and that, and it kind of made me think about life in a different way. So now the things that have happened in my life, I kind of wonder, if maybe she's guiding me this way. I mean, it sounds goofy because I haven't been, the truth be told, I haven't been a super religious man, especially after losing my mom. I really questioned, faith, and I really have never had a strong faith in, Christianity or, whatever. I believe in something, but the more that time goes on, the more that things have happened in my life, man, it seems like, maybe she's pushing me that way. And no, don't go that way. I mean, it's just crazy the way that
Yeah.
things have unfolded. One kid that I picked out of the crowd to come down and do the avalanche pack, he was kind of goofing around, but, talking to friends, you're like, you couldn't have picked a better kid out of anybody in the whole crowd to grab him and have him come down or be nice to him or show him kindness.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not always the nicest person. And yeah,
Yeah.
I talk trash about my friends once in a while, so it just seems like I believe in it more now just because of the way that things are happening in my life. It's
Yeah.
kind of scary. Like, I keep wondering, like, okay, I've done this good, boom, there goes my time's done. I'm out of here. So
Yep.
I wonder, how long it's going to keep going. And it used to be just all about snowmobiling. So I don't know if things are changing for me or, you know,
Well,
to
I
go
think
up there and
it's
face my life.
Yeah, but I think it's a lot of it is just our life experience, right? Like what we know and have experienced up to when we're 20 years old versus 30 years old versus, 40, whatever the age is that you get to at some point, where it's like, you start processing things differently and you start seeing how things in life start to just add up. And sometimes experiences that you've had in the past that seem like the most tragic experiences of your entire life, how those, if handled appropriately, can at least turn into some kind of a positive outcome, right? And as horrible it is that your mother passed away, think to the idea of like, would you have maybe been as inspired to go speak to the students if you didn't have a platform to speak on and to talk to and a desire now to try to help other people get through their life after your terrible loss, right? And without going into any detail, like I've experienced something very similar in my life that I've shared with you privately and I've shared on different times of the show. I won't go into it tonight, but a big part of why I do what I do in the community with this show and otherwise is to get the word out and help people because I'm very much aware that every conversation, every word, you're either building people up or you're tearing them down. And if you can be somebody in the world that helps build people up and make a difference in the world, you're doing it the right way as far as I can tell. So
Yeah, and that's what I told the kids up there. There's the group of kids, and so they kind of it's kind of funny is that you look at these kids, and there was a smasher, there was like the guys I hang out with, there's a Dan Gardner, there was a Anthony Alberti, a Stephen
yeah,
Darcy, a Ben Burke, a Nick Reedy. So there was a camera guy, a goofball, a really good writer. So it was cool to see them all. So I talked to these kids, and I was explaining to them how social media worked. Keep it clean. Post good stuff, post a lot, but meaningful stuff, post things that you kids are doing because in the bush, it's just different. The way that these kids ride compared to what you ride down here. Like I was riding with this kid and I don't know if his mom's watching or anybody's watching, but his name was Matthew Kropoff. He was 13 years old. And this kid's on a E-Tech on a 850 and I was on an XCR 800 and the track speed said 95 on the speedometer and this kid is right next to me just blowing and going. Now I'm thinking of my 13-year-old kid, we're 30 miles from home and this kid is just balls to the wall. So that
yeah,
was really, really cool. So anyways, I was trying to teach him, how to use social media and kind of, move forward and really build it up. As long as you stay good in school, you stay out of drugs and alcohol, so on and so forth. You keep posting, maybe Climb, maybe Vogue, maybe SLP,
yeah,
people like that will see them and go, hey, you know what? We need to contact these kids. And I told them, hey, if they contact you, they're going to ask your parents. They may call the school system and find out if you're a good kid. If you're not a good kid, then you've just blown your chance.
yeah,
And now you've given yourself a hole. So to get back up on top is going to take you that much more work. So just stay clean for now. And especially with the way that these kids treat sledding and dirt bikes and quads and fishing and hunting. I mean, this could lead to, something they really want. It can't be a full blown job. As we know, sledding isn't going to turn into that. But
yeah.
it can lead into something that fuels your passion like me. And I get sponsors to help me go to places like Dillingham, Alaska, or talk to people like yourself.
Yep. Nope, absolutely. That's awesome. And so, right after you did your speech that day, you had probably an opportunity right afterwards to do autographs and talk to people and stuff too. And, what was that immediate experience like as soon as kind of the official talk was done? To talk us through what that was like. Did everybody come down to the floor to join you? Did you start walking through the crowd? Like, and what was going on in that moment right after the talk was done?
It was at first the kids were kind of shy, and then they came down. They saw, there was quite a bit of stuff from like I don't want to forget anybody. There was stuff from Climb, Zebros, Arctic FX, Snow West, Ice Age, Truck Boss, SLP. There was stuff on the table, and then Climb had made my posters for me, and I think I had 200 or 300 or 400 of those. And boy, once the kids got that, then they wanted me to start signing posters, hats, shirts, hoodies, arms. I got asked to sign a forehead, and I was like, okay, well, we're not going to sign foreheads, phone cases, water bottles,
Yeah,
and then it started to get like they were like just surrounding me.
that's
So
awesome.
I signed everything as quick as I could, which wasn't as personal. I would have liked to have said something, but I just didn't. We didn't have the time. They had to get going. And then the kids started asking, "Do you know my dad and mom?" And I had a friend there, Robin Samuelson, and then Bert was there, and or sorry, Robin Cheney. And I would have to ask them, "Hey, this kid said." I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, of course I know your parents. I went to school with them." And so then,
That's cool.
the kids went home, and then my phone didn't work out there, so it only worked when I had Wi-Fi, which was really cool. So then when I get back to the hotel, my phone would start bling, 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 and it was, my friends were like, "Hey, thank you so much for signing, so and so's poster. They found out that I went to school with you. They just think it's the coolest thing." And
That's cool.
yeah, it was. So I did have some time to talk to him a little bit
Yep.
and take pictures, lots of pictures and smiles and laughs, and yeah.
Yep. And then rumor has it from a very good source that there was a unofficial snow day that week after the presentation. Tell us a little bit about that. What happened? So,
Yeah, so I'm gonna blame Bert for this, but we had planned to go ride for half a day
yeah,
on that day, and so we went out to go ride. Well, then like 30 of the kids showed up, and they were all skipping school. And one of the ladies that I was with, her son, MacArthur, Serena was the mother, and so she wasn't going to let him go. And then she started calling other parents, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to let him go. We're going to let him go." So we got like 30 of these kids and a bunch of my friends that I grew up with, and we went back there and we filmed. And Ben Burke took some great
that's
shots, and
awesome.
the kids were jumping in the snow out there, John. Oh, like these kids were hitting just some pretty good sized jumps, and it was like solid ice. I can't believe these kids. Their
Yep.
necks were snapping, and they're oh yeah. So and anyways, we rode that day, and then we had a movie that night, and I apologized to all the
Yeah.
parents. Like, I don't know why we did it on a Friday. We should do it on a Saturday. But all the parents were very cool about it, saying, "Hey, the experience that my son
It's worth it.
came
Yeah.
home and told them about it was well worth them missing school." All the teachers were cool about it. The principal was cool.
Yeah.
A lot of other people. So it did work out, and I'm glad the kids had a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So something I'd love to elaborate on in a minute that I wasn't planning as part of the show, but I think it'd be cool to kind of highlight, and that's Ben Burke, right, and his participation in that event and kind of what his role was there. Before you answer that, though, I want to share with you that Mark Connor, who's watching from Oregon, says, "Count me along with the next round of supporters helping Smasher get back to Alaska." I'm assuming for next year or the next time you go up there. So Mark, that's
Well, Mark,
awesome. Appreciate you, Mark. Mark's an awesome guy. He's part of the Oregon State Snowmobile Association. I've gotten to know him up there. He's a solid dude. So appreciate you, Mark, for that comment. And in the comments, you guys, you're going to have an opportunity if you want to ask Smasher a question. If you have a question you want me to ask Smasher live on the air here, you can do that live in the comments. And any of the comments that are in there that really resonate with the show and what we're talking about, I'm trying to share those into the live stream part of the show too. I have the opportunity to do that. I've done that a couple times now. But let's talk a little bit about Ben Burke's role in that whole experience and the documentation of it, what happened there. And then, by the way, tell Ben I'm coming for him. I want him as a guest on Monday. I hope he watches this, and I'm sure he will. But I'd love to have him on as a guest and just get his story, because I've been following him for the last couple of years too, and he's got a really unique look at the sled industry that he's doing, and I'd love to kind of have him come on and share that. So, but yeah, tell us a little bit about Ben's experience with you up in Alaska.
So, I'd asked a couple other people to go. It didn't work out. They couldn't make it, whatever. And so I was thinking, well, who can I ask that would be really, into this? And I texted Ben and was like, "Hey, you want to go to Alaska?" And he's like, "I'm in." Like instant. Like it didn't matter. I was like, "Well, I think that, a lot of it can be paid for to help you get up there. What I really need is someone to, kind of video it, to, take pictures for me." And he's like, "Whatever you need." Ben has always been that guy. Like,
Yeah,
if I need something from Ben and I've tried to help him out, I really do like the person he is. He never complains. He's always there for an adventure. I've gotten him tangled up, and he's never, we've been tired, and he's never complained. Like, off on a tangent, he got stuck one time. We had to take his whole ski off. He wasn't mad at me. He wasn't throwing a helmet at me.
that's awesome.
Didn't complain. He was like, "Dude, this is so much fun." The whole trip, the people in Dillingham loved him. Like I get, for his birthday, I posted a birthday, and everybody that was wishing a happy birthday were people from Dillingham. So to be accepted up there,
Yeah,
by those kids, the kids loved him. The kids were like, "Oh, bring Ben back,"
yeah,
So he's kind of he's going to be my travel buddy. If I get to go to, there might be an
yeah.
opportunity for me to go to Nome, Alaska and speak it there. he's coming with me because he's just always in. There's never an excuse. He's always right there.
Yeah.
He's got my back. So
Yeah.
just a solid individual.
Yep, that's awesome. So, Smasher, put yourself now on the other side of the discussion in school. You're sitting in the audience, you're listening to your speech. What do you believe, you sitting in the audience, or what do you believe as the speaker, that those students took away from your conversation? How do you think this is going to potentially impact them and potentially guide them and or potentially even change their future? What do you hope that they took away? I guess maybe let's look at it that way.
You know who Chris Herron is?
I don't personally know.
He used to be a basketball player for Fresno State.
Okay.
He had it like his whole life. Like the guy was an amazing basketball player.
Yeah.
You ever want to watch something? Watch that man speak.
Well,
You want to have tears and you want to feel touch.
yeah.
Watch Chris Herron speak. Anyways, he lost it all. Lost everything. He got into drugs. Just watch it. But anyways, that's kind of how I will never be like him. But I'm kind of hoping that when you watch kids watch him give his speech, that's what I'm hoping. I hope that they feel, I'm genuinely talking about my experiences, my falls, my mistakes in life, my not paying attention in school when I wish I would have, to listening to my parents more, to when my dad used to tell me, you need to pay attention in history or learn math. And I was like, well, that's not going to, I don't care about that because it's history. It's in the past. Well, now when I sit around with people and I don't know it, I feel kind of dumb once in a while, like, okay, so I've got to figure it out. So I wish I would have followed things more. So I hope that kids think about that more when they were watching me. That's what I'm hoping. And I hope that they feel that I'm genuinely speaking to them. I'm just not reading off a piece of paper going, you're bad, you're bad. And I'm all high and mighty, which I'm not. I am just me, and I'm not going to vary from that. I'm going to be me. You either like me or you don't. So I'm hoping that kids see that and they're like, hey, you know what? He was, a B student, a C student, a D student, an A student, whatever. But I'm going to put everything I've got into something and hope that I can get what I want out of it. Like, I feel like I'm the type of person when I set my mind to something, it's going to happen. I'm going to make it happen. I'm either going to die trying or it's going to happen. So that's what I hope, is that the kids watching feel like I'm genuinely speaking to them. And that's how I when I think about how I did it, I'm hoping that if I was sitting in the crowd and I looked at him and go, okay, he's telling the truth. He's not lying.
Yeah. Like very, the word that comes to mind for me, and it's a very pop culture word in the corporate America right now, is authentic. Like you likely wanted to make sure that you came across very authentic, inspirational. Like this is the real Smasher, right? And want to
like
make sure.
I'm not kissing the butt of the people in community. Like I really do love the
What's going
people
on
there.
there.
And I love the native culture. Like I love who they are. I love their backstory. I love how, the way that they hunt, the way they treat the land, the way that, that's going back. Obviously, things have obviously changed. We live in igloos and mush dogs, but, they fish up there. They're hardworking. They're tough. Life is tough up there, and that's how they are. So I do love them. And that's who I think that that helped me turn who I am into who I am.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. It does. Yep. And so then let's flip the question on you. And so how did this experience ultimately impact and potentially change you and the rest of your life? Let's talk about that for a minute.
I guess I had no idea how, not important, but I guess I really didn't see how much the public or people see me. Like I'm just me. I post things on social media, but it's just because I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of where I'm going. I'm proud of what I've accomplished in my life. Excuse me, with help of others. But I forgot what you asked me, John.
No, just how has this opportunity to speak up there impacted you and changed your life? And you were answering the question. You just probably lost focus on the idea of, you were so focused on what it was meaning to you that you forgot the question. But you were already answering it. So how is this going to continue to evolve you and change you? So grateful. I love that.
I am beyond grateful for everybody, for every sponsor I have, for every friend I had, for that opportunity.
Yep.
It has really opened my eyes to genuinely look at every opportunity is what a gift. Going and to ride with for Mark Connor to invite me to go to the Oregon, up there and do that thing. I was like, he's been asking me a few times. I was okay. You know what? I'll go do it. Man, I met some cool people up there. What a phenomenal opportunity. So now I'm going to go back this year and do it again, and I'm going to do it better. That last time didn't work out so well, but I want each opportunity. I mean, if snowmobiling is going to keep presenting me with these opportunities, I'm going to keep going. I'm not getting any younger. I'll take it until, the very last day that I can take a breath. But
Yep.
it has just really made me appreciate what I've done, my family, my kids, my friends, just the snowmobiling community. I'm not the biggest name. I won't be the biggest name, and it doesn't bother me. The people that follow me on Instagram, I feel like, or at social media, are
Yep.
people that truly do like me.
Yep, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we did get a question that popped in, and as I asked the question, I'll just remind everybody, like last chance here, if you have any questions for Smasher, we're going to wrap this up shortly. But Kevin Hedstrom from out in I think it's Dillon, Montana, is where he's at, if I remember right. He wants to know, where did you get your nickname Smasher?
Um, I'll do it. I'll do it quick and short. So you know how like everybody says dude bra, like people from California would call them dude bras or whatever. Anyways, my
Okay.
buddy Charles Booth and I were up at a parking lot up there, and we're sitting there. We're all dressed in gear. This guy comes up, and he was like, "Dude, I was up there totally smashing today. I was smashing my skid. I was smashing the jumps." And starts the sled and drives off. And I look at Charles. I was like, "Who is that?" And he's like, "I thought you knew him." I was like, "I didn't know him." So then a week later, we're up there again with my buddy John Opio and a bunch of his friends. And this guy comes up in the asphalt, and he's like, "Dude, I'm up here smashing again. You guys are up here smashing." And he rides off again. And we're like, "Who the heck is this guy?" Like, he never took off a helmet, didn't talk to us. So then we were up there riding. This is before I got in the film industry,
Yeah.
or involved. And we were up there riding, and I wadded my sled up pretty bad. I was hitting a jump and coming downhill. There was a buried stump, and Charles was with me, and it wadded up pretty bad. And so I took it into the local shop. And at the local shop, John Opio and his cousin Alric worked there, and Alric's mom worked for this guy. Alric's mom worked for a vinyl company, so they put Smasher Smashington on the hood of my sled.
Nice.
Well, then kind of skipping some steps, blah blah blah. Jeff Aiello had set up for Anthony Alberti and Shane Kelly and Jesse O'Rourke to take me out on a test ride to see if I was Team Summit worthy. And I was up there, and I don't know, I was doing something stupid and rolled my sled a bunch of times. The windshield came off. So when I was putting the new windshield on my 05, they asked me, what's this Smasher Smashington about? And so I told them the story. So they started calling me Smasher Smashington. Then when Dan put me in Boondockers, he called me and was like, what do you want to be named as, Kris or Smasher? And I was like, Kris is fine. And he put it in a Smasher, and boom, from there on,
That's awesome.
it just stuck.
Well, and as
And
you've
so,
as you've been in the film series, we all can verify that you have had plenty of smashing moments throughout the film series. And I remember a very vivid one where you did a cliff drop and then straight into a tree, and you started bragging about your A-arms and your sponsor.
yeah, and so touching back on something I said earlier, John, is how you shouldn't ever judge people because you don't know the backstory. So I had found Team Summit, the video, and I started watching it. Well, you had Billy Goat and Back Scratcher and Nar and Wreck Nester and Sarge and Big Kahuna. They all have these nicknames, and I remember thinking these guys are grown men. They have nicknames. Like how dumb is that? You're a grown man. And my wife and I were watching it, and she's like, you shouldn't judge. You don't know. And I was like, I think it's just dumb. You're a grown man. And then I met Fatty. So then I get in the film industry, and I get to name Smasher. So it was kind of like, the world kicking me in the teeth and go,
Yep.
once again, don't judge. You don't know the backstory. So don't judge until you learn it,
That's
until you
awesome.
figure out what's going on,
Yep. So I'm gonna hope I'm saying her last name right, but Patricia Bolam, I'm gonna assume, says let's love the
You're wrong.
shirt. Yep, there you go. So love the shirt. Go Wolverine. So tell us about your shirt you're wearing and how it ties into the school that you're in.
So Dillingham Wolverines is my hometown, is my high school. And so when I spoke at the high school gave me a shirt, and then the elementary school gave me a beaver, and I can't remember, but they gave me like pretty much like a brownie point because I touched on, oh, they're gonna kill me. It was like respect. I can't remember the three, but I hit all three of them in my speech. And so I got another shirt from them, and I got like a beaver button and some in a card. And so I've saved it all, and I'm going to frame it all. I mean, it was very cool. So yeah. And Patricia, I went to high school with. She would always get me to do something funny, and then she would laugh, and then I would get in trouble. So
Sounds like a relationship I used to have with my little brother. So
yeah, that was bad news for me.
that's awesome. So Rich Barnett asks a question of how many kids attended the school that you spoke to? Like, I don't know, like per grade or total school, either one, both answering is great. So
Think so. It's sixth grade through 12th grade in the high school, middle school, and I want to say there was 150, maybe 200. And then the elementary school, I can in elementary school, I don't even know 100,
Yep.
120 down there.
Gotcha.
And so yeah. So
Very
it's not
good.
real big.
Yeah, small community, small community. So, Kris, we're going to go ahead, unless another question pops up here in the next few seconds, but let's go ahead and start wrapping this up and thinking about like all the people who've helped make this possible. Let's just do some thank yous, right? So let's start with this trip specifically, and any thank yous you want to shout out to of all the people who made it happen. I'm sure friends, family, people in the community, all the above. It's going to be hard to get everybody, so I'm going to pre-apologize for anybody he may miss. But I know you're going to do your best to try and call out those who really stood out and made a difference for you up there.
Well, there's a lady I live here with. I can't remember her name. No,
Oh,
Tracy, my
geez,
wife, of course. She supported me through all these, and she's very proud of me. So that always makes me very happy. And Bert Luckers was the man that made this all happen. He should get so many thank yous, and I meant the community really loves what he did. Then we've got Ian and his wife that owned the coffee shop there in Dillingham. They helped support this. The Bristol Inn, Gene Barrett, and then of course the Ace Hardware, which is the Polaris dealership. Ace Hardware, JD Palin up there. They donated quite a bit. There was a few other ones that I cannot remember. There's a cafe up there, I think a Bristol Inn Cafe or something, but they did it. And then of course, Vogue, Climb, Zebros, Arctic FX, Snow West, Ice Age, Truck Boss, SOP. They all donated stuff for me to take up there and give out to the kids, stickers and hats and T-shirts, and so they should all be noted as contributors of this. And some bigger things are coming up. Some really cool things. I don't want to mention them because I don't want to jinx it, but there's some big plans about me possibly going back to Dillingham and riding again with the kids. And I want to make this bigger and better. So
awesome.
trying to get my sled up there for next year. We'll see where there's some works in that. And then of course, like we talked before off air, there's something big coming up, and I want people to know it's pretty big. It's been a childhood dream, and it's about to come true. So I can't tell it because I don't want to jinx it, but yeah,
Very good,
it's
very
cool.
good. Awesome. And then I know, again, we got people commenting, awesome show tonight. Thank us both, for the opportunity to kind of listen in on this story. So people are appreciating your message. But let's just talk about, the folks who support you long term, all day in, day out, some of the sponsors you have too. And I'm sure some of them overlap with who you just covered. But anybody that you want to call out and say thank you to before we wrap up the show tonight?
All those people, Climb, Dustin, Climb. Climb supports the heck out of me,
Yeah.
SLP, Ryan Harris from Snow West, just to call him up and have him donate some things, is great. SLP, Ice Age, Arctic FX. Boy, I almost forgot Arctic FX.
Well,
Zebros.
you wanted to thank Marlon Sled Decks, right? Isn't that who you want to make? Oh, no, wait, Truck Boss. That's right, Truck Boss.
Marlon, do they?
I
I mean,
think,
some people settle. Some people settle in life, and that's okay, John. I'm not judging you.
yeah, it's all
You
good.
can settle, but you can go with truck boss, and then when you come to Reno to ride, you can put all your stuff underneath there. When it's raining, it doesn't get wet. But I mean, if you like, wet gear, hey, I'm not judging.
It's all good. Everybody knows we're just having a little fun banter here at the expense of both of our sponsors that we both love. I love his sponsor. He loves my sponsor. Life's a good place to be. Both great products. But Smasher,
Absolutely.
very much appreciate you coming on there. Anybody you missed, or do you want to any last calls?
My phone hasn't dinged, so
All
I
right.
think I got it. I know I missed zeros last time,
Oh man, we don't
and
want that.
Trent said, don't let it ever happen again. It was a joke, but
Yeah.
I zeros.
Awesome.
No, I think we're good, man. I appreciate your time very much, and
Cool.
look
Well,
forward to talking to you again soon, man.
yeah. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. Live large. Have an amazing night. Have a great night, everybody.
Take care.